Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to a new episode of the X Button. I am one of your hosts, Alejandro, and with me is the big bad wolf.
Oh, hey everybody.
How you doing,
That's
Paul?
my stripper name.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. I've been playing a few extra things, and one of the things that I played is what you referenced just now. So
Exactly.
I've been excited to talk about that.
Well, ever since I found out about your size, I'm gonna be making giant jokes as much as opportunity allows me, and if there's relevancy happenings. But
You know what's really funny is I hate giant characters in stories. Maybe that's because I am one in real life, but I'm like, gosh, his whole personality is he's big, and then I realized that that's basically what I am to most people.
But don't you realize that that's just human nature? You just hate what reminds you so much of anything that closely resembles something. That's why that's me with tropical settings.
Mm-hmm.
I live in basically a country that's mostly tropical with a lot of green. So
and that's why I'm the way I am with swamp.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, before we move in to what we've been playing, always a pleasure to be with you here, and also a pleasure to have everyone that's tuning in. And also for housekeeping, you can always find every new episode of the X Button every Wednesday, hopefully always at 10 a.m. unless something happens that makes us push. You can find any episode always in our YouTube channel, and also through audio services around the world. Keep beating the drum that we are already in Apple Podcasts, which has been a year-long process for it to be there, plus other podcast services you can find at anchor.fm/escape-media, which is basically our umbrella. So Paul, what have you been playing, my dear friend?
I decided like right after, I don't remember if I mentioned it yet, but I started playing The Evil Within. If I've mentioned this before on podcast, I'm sorry now, but
I'm trying to remember because I sometimes re-listen them. I don't think you have mentioned it. So
I must have started right after that episode then. Well, basically, yeah. So I got it. It was on sale for like $12, and I started playing through it, and that was a fantastic Resident Evil game. I have not finished, only because I got to about chapter 11 out of 15, and the Steam just went straight through the floor. I went through like the blown up city, all of the crazy monsters. It's like the game's kind of done all it can do to differentiate itself, and all of the cool designs have kind of been used, and now it's just Eldritch Horror 1, Eldritch Horror 2, random zombie dudes with unbreakable masks and guns, and I'm like, this isn't the kind of game I want to play right now. Because it really did become a very different game. Like throughout the course of it, it started off as like this pseudo stealth horror survival, then it became a shooter, then it became Resident Evil 4, and now it's just like a shooter but with extra frustrating steps. Like it's not really scary anymore, it's just annoying.
And you're in, if I'm not mistaken, you're in the chapter where the city is like going to hell, right?
Yeah,
like
basically.
Everything's just, it becomes abstract.
Yeah.
Messy.
And it's kind of a shame that we're doing this after I reached my event horizon with that game, because I was really loving it, and I was surprised. I really liked the side characters, all of the details of like it's in the mind, and because it's in the mind, you have like endless possibilities for what you can do. You don't really need to worry about, like, Resident Evil is bound by some form of reality at all times, where they're like, it has to be some form of virus, it has to be the real world, it has to be such and such, and that's all you can really do. But when it's in the mind, I mean, you can stretch that a little bit by saying, I mean, it's like a super soldier serum now, and they can do whatever. But I mean, still, yeah, you're right. They are stretching it. But even with this, it's like you can do Doctor Strange levels of wild horror that is like, oh, this is kind of neat. But then I always felt like I could fight back, which is one of the things I really like in horror movies. Horror games personally, dropping things. And then it just kind of ran out. But anyway, so I played that, and I want to play the second game whenever it goes on sale at some point. Hopefully I'll finish it, but with the Bloodbath, that's true, maybe one day. But yeah, just at least currently I am getting ready for the craziness that's going to come down next week. Similarly, in the spookiness, I started playing Oxenfree. Well, started and finished Oxenfree, and that was a really fun game.
How long was it?
It was like maybe 4 hours or something.
Oh, that's nice. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really easy. I beat it in one playthrough. One sitting, that is. And it kind of ties itself into replaying it with added like dialogue options and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So like the game itself is the same apparently, but there's things going on that allow you to react to things that have already happened in your last playthrough. So that was like, oh, I really want to try that again. And it sounds like my wife wants to play it as well, because I described it as it without the creepy clown, because that's
Really?
basically what it is. It's a group of kids that go to an abandoned island, find out that they're stuck there, and then shenanigans start breaking down.
So
And the
basically
whole
Until
game-
Dawn.
Yes, but it's a very
an-
different gameplay style.
Yeah, obviously it's like a side scroller, right?
Yeah, and it's instead of like the edginess, it's much more wholesome than I thought, because it's very much focused on your interactions with people, like a Telltale game of like you want them to work together, help each other out, and your image of them growing, because if you don't do that, things can go very differently. So it sounds like I got like a good ending out of it, but you can
Mhm.
definitely screw up and things can go south. So
In
it
every
was cool.
In those narrative games, every time I always get the bad ending first, all the time.
Really?
So yeah,
Like by accident?
sometimes yes. It first happened to me with Heavy Rain, and ever
Oh.
since then, when I do those kind of decision games, I always double back, because it's like, this should not be the ending, right? I remember a lot of my characters died in Heavy Rain initially, so. And the same thing happened with Until Dawn. And ironically, in Until Dawn, by one stupid final decision that I
Yeah.
made, like I wiped
Until
out-
Dawn is really easy to mess up and get people killed, apparently, because it's like it doesn't differentiate between one decision to the next of like, oh, you messed up, so they get a cut on their hand, and you messed up here and they get their head ripped off, and that's it. And I don't think I have the stomach to handle something like that. So this was like a good alternative to something like that.
Yeah, it's
So I
not
definitely
slasher
suggest
horror.
it. No, it's not. It's very much like coming of age story plus supernatural creepiness.
Mhm.
So yeah. And then of course I played more of Sifu. I got to the final boss of the final level, and I love that game so much. It really brought me back into some of my memories, and then also just really enjoying the grounded martial arts, really just vibing with it. I would go back and play through the whole game just to see how I could do it. And basically, like, that's what they want out of you is, oh, I don't even care if I'm getting forward progression. I just want to keep replaying this stuff and having fun, because it's just so fun moment to moment that I didn't mind that I wasn't really getting any. Well, actually, that's not true, because each time you do that, you're getting XP, and each time you use that, you're getting permanent unlocks on your moves. So then you're getting better for everything in the future. So I love the different environments. I love how different each boss is. I think the order of the bosses should be a little different, or at least the difficulty changed a little. I feel like you should at least have waited, or they should have till like the third and fourth level to really ramp it up, because I think once that hits, you get more retention, because there's more people that they've sunk more hours into it, then they're more invested, that they want to keep playing. But if you hit them with the first mission that you can beat in like an hour or two, and then the second is the way it is, then you just lose everybody after a couple hours, and it kind of hurts my soul. But I am glad, we'll talk about it in the news, that they're changing that.
Exactly.
And the last thing was Wolf Among Us. I just briefly played that. I love the colors. I love the voice acting.
The big bad wolf.
The premise, yes, the big bad wolf. And I love how done with everyone's crap he is, how tired this man feels.
You met the pig yet? From the
I did finally. So I got to the point of, I think they said it was like episode 3 of chapter 1, where I met Ichabod Crane. We're figuring out where some people live, and we're about to go visit them with Snow White.
Isn't it the coolest? Like,
I did
Especially,
not expect a couple of those plot twists already.
uh-huh.
That was like, oh shoot, okay, so that's not who I expected
So
was
you
gonna be
haven't
here.
seen the end of episode 1, right?
No, I
Oh man,
haven't.
text me
I
whenever you
know.
hit that. Yeah,
I really want to keep playing it, but it's also one of those games that's like still in that vein of this is the seedy underbelly of things, so I don't want to play it in front of my wife.
oh yeah.
So usually I play most of the games while she's sitting next to me, but she's also watching the Vampire Diaries right now,
Oh
so
yeah.
I might be able to sneak by some of the scenes of it without her noticing.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say
that's
you should
everything.
play. I was gonna say you should play that with her, but then I remember some of the lewdness of some of the things in that.
Yeah, I would sooner play through something like either Life is Strange or
Oh, absolutely. Oh yeah.
um
Walking
man, what
Dead.
was the other? Yeah, maybe Walking Dead, and any of the other stuff that the Telltale people did. Probably not Tales of the Borderlands. That one kind of requires some interest in Borderlands in the first place.
Hmm.
But yeah, maybe we can talk about that one other day. More entry level games for people. But
Yeah. Wolf
oh,
Among
yeah, sorry, you go ahead and say
yeah,
what
Wolf
your
Among
thing
Us is my favorite Telltale game. Simply
Which I
because
remember you said that because I was like, wait, I never played that. Let me go check that out. And I haven't been disappointed at all so far. So
oh, and you absolutely won't, because it just gets crazier and crazier. And
oh yeah,
what made me care is the fact that I have no recollection, like I have no knowledge about the DC Vertigo comic Fables, which this is based from.
I remember you said that, and it does make me want to go back and like read that now
Yeah,
because I want to see these characters.
yeah, it's a complete work of fiction now, so you can read it from beginning to end now. And the game is just so well made in its story. It's a little janky, because it's from that old
Yeah,
Telltale
the animations are rough, but I was like, I remember playing Walking Dead season 1, and I was
Mhm.
like, okay, this is a cool concept, even if it is janky. So that it kind of like makes me nostalgic for that, if anything.
Yeah, it's just like what Telltale does best is a story, and they made me care for
Absolutely.
something that I had no interest beforehand, especially just by me having general knowledge of fairy tales by myself, not their version, just getting to experience that version of fairy tales, not in the Once Upon a Time version, but in an even more edgy, more adult, more messed up lens. Like it's just so intriguing, and the twists and turns that are coming, I tell you. There's a reason why the Wolf Among Us 2 that got announced in 2017 and reemerged recently, being like, it's actually coming with a new Telltale, from the new Telltale, and with a new engine, because they're now using Unreal Engine 4, and you can tell because that
I mean, it looked great. Yeah.
Every Telltale game before that was done on a proprietary engine that just sucked, and they never fixed it because they were just making so much money that they were like, kind of like the low risk, high reward business mentality. But that killed them, because eventually a lot of people were like, F you, we're not gonna keep playing games that keep breaking, eating saves, having Xbox prompts on PlayStation. I will never forget when that happened to me playing Game of Thrones.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm glad I never bothered to play that.
Yes.
Jeez.
So
I did want to mention one last game. I didn't play it, but I watched it get played, and that was Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Did your wife buy it? Or
yes. Well, I bought it for her as a Valentine's Day gift, and I really wanted to watch how it played out, and I really wanted to like see her reaction to that style of game, because she doesn't play that kind of stuff. And her biggest experience is briefly playing Breath of the Wild for like an hour. And then she never played it after that, because she didn't have the ability to move and change the camera at the same time. And this is like kind of challenging her for that, but she still has to she has to stop moving, she has to turn
the camera,
aim, and then throw. So I'm like, whoo, she's gotta really put her practice in before Breath of the Wild just curb stomps the crap out of that poor girl.
And Breath of the Wild doesn't do the best first impression with how
it does not.
It much throws you in that great plateau.
I really want her to like Breath of the Wild, and I'm hoping that this is going to be the opportunity for her to train and grow and learn the muscle memory she's going to need for that. But so far, for the game itself, I'm really loving what they did. I really want all of that to go into the mainline Pokemon games. I don't have too many suggestions for that game because it's a really great execution for what their vision is for that. It's oddly enough, it's an isekai.
Yeah.
I found out it's your character in the modern day that gets transported back. I didn't realize that at all.
Really?
No, it's not just the past, it's they get put back into it and their phone gets turned into like a special device that Arceus blesses so that you have an in-universe reason to have a map and a menu and stuff, and it's really funny. But besides that, it's enjoyable, and I'll have more thoughts maybe next week as she keeps playing.
Yeah, you definitely play more than I did.
Yeah,
I did a bit more Sifu. I'm done with Sifu, but not because I'm finished the game. I'm just done. I don't want to keep banging my head against the wall with that second level and the final boss, and its reliance on the L1 stick dodging that it's so dodgy, pun intended, that I can never ever get it to work right with the direction it seems like it wants me to move to, and I still keep getting hurt by the final boss. And due to a news item that we put in there, I just realized, I'm not gonna bother. I no longer have the patience to break my mind and my dexterity trying to master something that does every 90% right, and this 110% I just can't get it to work. And now knowing that there's something that's gonna make it easier, we're gonna talk about it a little later. It's like, no, I don't need to master this now. I'll just wait then. And this has been an interesting past week where I've tried to play things and it hasn't happened. Like I tried to download Crossfire X because I remember
you told me about that.
I had heard some interesting things, and obviously it was on Game Pass. So I was like, because originally I had heard that it wasn't going to be on Game Pass, but then it was there on Game Pass. So I downloaded it. I was like, I'm going to play the campaign made by Remedy. And then it prompted me, you want to play the campaign, pay $10. I was like, no way I'm paying that. Delete. And then I saw the IGN review that gave it a 3 out of 10. Bullet dodged. And right now I'm kind of in a little bit of gaming depression. I don't know, like nothing. I don't want to play anything
same.
Because I'm very excited for something that's coming up. Yep. And nothing will hit the spot. I don't want to like fill up of something until I get to this one. So that's why I barely played anything. Like I even bought a couple stuff. I saw Turok. I used to play this at first person.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Turok for N64. It's the PS4 version was $10. I bought it on Sunday. Started playing it. I was like, this feels old.
Mm-hmm.
And I
don't know if I could ever go back to that one.
I turned it off. Speaking of the Telltale games, I saw that the Telltale Batman had its Shadow Edition was like for $7, which was
weird to me. Is it the whole game with just the black filter?
No, so it's the first season and the second season, which is called The Enemy Within, and they redid the graphics because they kind of put it through a different engine, I think is what it is, and also they put the noir filter if you want to play it that way.
So that's not like required though, right?
I only downloaded it because it was $7 because I never played the Enemy Within. I only played season 1.
I actually want to get that now.
So I was like, I've never played Enemy Within. So if it's $7 for something that's 20, because you were already playing Wolf Among Us, and I told you in their chat, I'm kind of a little bit nostalgic for this kind of Telltale style of game. I downloaded it, but I still haven't played it. And then I tried to download Lost Ark, which has been this massive, super massive game in Steam right now. That's basically Diablo. I downloaded it yesterday, tried to get in. Server queue was too high. I was like, well, gonna wait then. So yeah, not much to play here. I just been like watching TV. I just can't wait for this Friday because something that I've been really highly anticipating for almost 2 years now. It's finally here. So no need to beat around the bush, Paul. Press X.
For some news.
So people are not going to hear that because you're going to have the music on top of it. So
I didn't have to wait. I didn't have to anticipate. I win. Yeah, that's all you need to know.
So Paul, in Valentine's Day, happy Valentine's Day for people. Well,
Happy Valentine's Day.
A day after Valentine's Day, we're recording this. The review embargo for Horizon Forbidden West lifted with an average score of 89 after 100 reviews recorded. Horizon Forbidden West is currently the highest rated new game of 2022, with a consensus saying it is an improved, lengthier, worthy follow-up to the 2017 smash hit PS4 and then PC original, which was revealed to have sold an astonishing 20 million copies today, FYI. A lot of copies for like a new IP. Insane.
And especially in today's day.
Yes. So especially in a sequelized, where usually these are numbers reserved for sequels.
Mm-hmm. So, wait, what did Ghost of Tsushima get? They reached 20.
They haven't reached that. They haven't reached that. No.
Man, I don't know what I'm thinking of then. Well, yeah, good for Horizon.
So Ghost of Tsushima sold faster early on.
Okay,
but it hasn't hit 20 million. And remember, Horizon has been out since 2017. This is 6 years of collective sales, and a few of those are the PC. So here's a couple extras of some of the reviews. So BGC gave it a 5 out of 5. That's basically 100. And it says, if you're willing to take your time and explore through the ruins of a fallen society where every other corner is teeming with machines that you'll need to be at the top of your game to destroy, then Horizon Forbidden West is an incredible game and a world that we wanted to return to many hours after the credits rolled. And a review by Game Informer that gave it a 9.25 out of 10 says, Horizon Forbidden West reaches a new high bar for guerrilla games. It does more than surpass its predecessor. It takes Horizon's fiction to captivating places and builds a rich world that rewards you for the effort you put into it. Mostly, it's an entertaining experience complete with jaw-dropping moments and unforgettable fights. IGN gives it a 9 out of 10 and says, a triumphant combination of enthralling combat, top-tier creature and character design, and a captivating open world, Horizon Forbidden West is an absolute blast and fantastic showcase for the power of the PS5. GameSpot comes in a little lower at an 8 out of 10 and says, overall though, Horizon Forbidden West does a lot more right than it does wrong. It might be jam-packed with stuff to see, do, know, and remember, but when its many systems come together, it can be a beautiful, exciting, and delightful open world experience. And our favorite, Skill Up, or like I like calling him Shill Up, says, Horizon Forbidden West delivers a world so full of discovery that you cannot but get lost in it. Such ferocity that you will never feel safe in it, and such beauty that you'll scarcely believe a $500 console can produce it. This is the reason why I'm in gaming depression right now. I just want to play this game now. This is my most anticipated game this year. I put it at number 1. This year, number 6. I think
I would definitely put it a lot higher now, the closer we've gotten to it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember what I had put for my top 10 anticipated, but the longer I've thought about it after I beat the first Horizon Zero Dawn, the more I want to see that world again, plus improvements. And I realized that I have needed a game to get lost in again.
I want that too.
Every game that's kind of come out in the last 3 or 4 years, it feels almost impossible to get lost in the right way. I've gotten lost in a lot of games, tell you. So I'm a professional.
You just want to immerse yourself in a really cool environment. And that's what Horizon has always been for me. Even understanding now years on, now hearing all different sides of people absolutely adore it, which was me, and some people that had some trepidation that I can see, like the original game's movement was limited, and sometimes for the combat to really click in the strategic elements, some people got that vibe, others don't. But the beauty of a studio that does their first open world game, I keep saying it, is like the excitement comes from what comes next when they see how further the world's been developed. And the IGN review specifically mentions that the great sequels, they mentioned Uncharted 2, Mass Effect 2, Assassin's Creed 2. I've always kept saying it's like this has the potential to kind of be that leap up from that, and I just can't wait, especially with the reviews that are here. What's ironic is that the original also landed at an 89 and this one also landed at an 89. It's notable because standards change, new reviewers come in. The fact that the sequel managed to get the same kind of score, I think that bodes well, because remember, there's also the new IP bump that you can get from like early reviews. And
what kind of differentiates it from like, isn't it an aggregate score, so that can be changing at all times?
Yeah, all the time. Like,
So
more
was the
reviews.
89 what it is now for Zero Dawn, or
No, what it is
okay.
now, it stayed there after all reviews were tallied up.
Oh wow, so it just kind of stayed at the same score. That's cool.
Yeah, Zero Dawn remained at an 89. I mean, that was like one of the more acclaimed games in 2017. Obviously, we should never take like review aggregates from like Metacritic like as gospel, because remember, reviews are always a time snapshot, place in time. Time changes opinions of games a lot.
Yeah.
So it's funny that even with the time changes, that Forbidden West, the sequel, managed to end in kind of like that same caliber of high praise from the critic community. I mean, it's notable. There's some sequels that score lower in the Metacritic despite being better sometimes. So it happens. It's this Friday. I just can't wait. We're on Tuesday now, and I
know
I don't want to play anything else. I just want to play this.
I'm kind of glad in some ways because I have such a busy week, because it's already feels like it's been going super fast. I'm about to get 2 days knocked out of my schedule because I have to travel for a good part of the rest of today, the good part of tomorrow, and then all of a sudden I'm just gonna have Thursday, and then I need to hopefully work through all of my work as fast as I can on Friday, and then just burn through it during the weekend as much as I can.
And just think about this, Paul. We get this, and then on Tuesday we get the Witch Queen, which, by the way, got dropped its launch trailer today.
Yeah, I am. I'm going to be bouncing back and forth between those for a little while, and I think I am starting to agree with your assessment that we should be waiting a little bit on Elden Ring, just so Elden Ring doesn't become what Horizon did to me in 2017, right after I played Breath of the Wild.
Exactly. Yeah. No, literally, it's so funny that Horizons is facing twice in a row now highly anticipated games from like established franchises. And
I'm just glad it's beating all of like the really crazy ones. At least like Dying Light crapped the bed. Sifu was an indie game and like very different. So for me at least, I feel like Horizon is actually the first in that big hitter category. I mean, of course, it would be different if Dying Light 2 crushed it out the gate, but it really is
busted.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm so ready for it, and I'm excited. One reason is the thing they confirmed is that flying mounts are a thing, and I love me some flying. And game developers, why is flying so rare in video games? What is going on with that? It's easy
to break games if you're always flying. So.
It's like, I know traversal is a thing, but like I feel like you could really do something with it, and I don't even know the last game that had actual flying in it that was an open world. Maybe not. Watch Dogs didn't have it. Like Just Cause or something might have been the last one to really put some flying vehicles in there. But even then, that's not nearly as fun as like just getting to fly.
And remember, this has the Breath of the Wild glider. So I can imagine flying.
That's a half point. I will count the gliding sort of, but like true flying ability.
No, but think about it. You'll be flying with the flying mounts and then dropping the mounts to then dropping
and just down, gliding down, like the versatility, the options, the possibility of like calling in a dinosaur and grappling onto it or something.
And you saw the pictures, right, that I sent from like the digital.
I just saw like that one of like her riding it with the sky in the background stuff, and I was like, yes.
But the 4 pictures of the environments of the 4 different biomes, look, it's like that game's like the reason why I got a 4K TV. I can't wait
to try it.
To just like see it all blown up, because the IGN review mentioned it. It's like, this is a fantastic showcase for the power of the PS5. These are the kinds of games that justify the new machines. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart last year was that. This is even further because it's more closer in the stylish photorealistic instead of just being cartoony, even though Ratchet and Clank was a looker in its cartoony thing. That's what made it cool. And remember, we adored Kina, and that was also cartoonish.
And Miles Morales was like the
stylish,
probably
photorealistic, but that one's in the city. Miles Morales is a great looking game, beautiful with his effects and all that. What makes Horizon always stand out for me is just its aesthetic. It's mixed aesthetic.
It's the same reaction we both get to Red Dead Redemption's landscapes. That's what I'm looking forward to, especially.
Yeah, I just can't wait. Especially like I've intentionally hold off from playing open world games because when one that I really want lands, it's just
I'm
gonna
glad
land.
Zach caught me because I was trying to play Rise of the Tomb Raider like 3 weeks ago, and
But
he's
Rise
like,
of the
maybe
Tomb
you
Raider-
shouldn't be playing the one that is the open world-ish
But that's
shooter
the
with
thing, like,
lady climbing.
yes and no. Rise of the Tomb Raider is a wide linear game. It has
It
its
is,
tiny
but
hubs, but it's a linear game.
it's got enough mechanics similarly that his point was made where
Yeah.
I was going to burn myself out on those mechanics.
You were gonna burn yourself out from a female character that has a bow and arrow in her arsenal. So
yeah,
in that
and
case,
climbs
yes.
a lot. So I was like, gosh, he's right. I should definitely stop.
And don't forget, I was also playing Shadow of Mordor when I was in that Lord of the Rings kind of kick, and I was playing that. And then when he mentioned that, I was like, you know what? It's true. I shouldn't play a open world game right now.
When did Shadow of Mordor come out again?
2014.
Okay, 14. When did Shadow of War come out? That was
2017.
2017. No freaking wonder I was so burnt out on those games.
Yeah. And also 2017 had a litany of open world games that showed up that year.
So many hours into Shadow of War. Gosh, if I do tell you later on this year, you should go back to it at some point.
No, that's the thing. I've been wanting to go back to that one because I loved the first one. I finished the second one after it was patched in 2018 to remove all the loot boxes because I had heard that the game had been tuned in its later game for you to try to push into the loot box area. So that's why I was like, yeah, I'll wait. I know that there's gonna be enough outcry that then they'll patch it out. And then when I saw in July 2018 that they did, I was like, this is my time. And I remember enjoying it, but it was a little too much. But I can't wait to try it, especially because, again, like I enjoy going back to old games that got PS5 enhancement or like PS4 Pro enhancements that I never got to see because I was only with the base PS4. So that I was like, Shadow of Mordor, by coming out in 2014 and 2016 got a PS4 Pro patch, and I got to play that in 4K. I was like, interesting how an old game can have a little bit of a lift up. So
I do want to mention one last thing about Shadow of War. The DLC is really fun. The last one is like a roguelike game.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny that you mention it. The only reason why I kind of want to go back to it is that the season pass was $3 for Shadow of War. So that's why I was like, yeah, this is my opportunity to try this.
The Eltariel DLC, I didn't remember hardly anything about. I think it takes place after the game. But then the other one with Benethor, I think, that one's fun because it changes a lot of the mechanics and it's very different in its approach.
You know who I will play both of these games? Because we have the Lord of the Rings TV show coming up. So
another thing to talk about.
Yeah. So when usually something in a medium is happening, I get the hunger in another medium. So it just energizes well that way. But yeah, Horizon Forbidden West, just a few more days. Glad it's hitting. Can't wait. Number 2, Paul. We got the NPD results for the month of January. Lucky for us, it landed right on the 15th today when we're recording. So some of the notable data for the month. Pokemon Legends Arceus, the new open world Pokemon game, you ever talked about that, topped the charts as the best-selling game of the month with only 3 days available. It was reported that games already gone to sell at 6.5 million copies in the time frame.
That was in 3 days?
Apparently.
Holy moly. I mean,
Pokemon's
for
huge.
one thing, Pokemon is huge. I agree. It's funny that this was still enough of a market right after Shining Pearl
and the other
Diamond. The other thing. That was 2 separate games too. The fact that this is still crushing it after that is like one testament to the Pokemon fan base, 2 testament to Nintendo's fan base, 3 the fact that Pokemon Legends Arceus I think has some staying power compared to some shallow-ish reboots of those other 2 games.
And not only that, this is definitive proof that graphics don't matter. That game looks like butt.
I want to call out PJ, but I am not a confrontational person because there is nothing wrong with those graphics. I wouldn't even say they're bad. It's genuinely just a stylistic thing. It's got like a cool watercolor style. It's just like if you're gonna clown on and make fun of these graphics and then praise Breath of the Wild, there's something wrong with your priorities.
Yeah, but Breath of the Wild does look better though. Yeah,
it's more colorful, but I think it's a different style that they're going for, really. It's just, this is supposed to be a little more washed out because the Pokemon themselves are brighter, I find.
Yeah, but this is one of the rare cases why I'm gonna actually side with him, because I've seen extensive footage of Arceus, and I've tried hard to like try to look at the silver lining, and I just can't get behind how bland that game looks. But it doesn't matter, because everyone's enjoying its systems. Everyone is enjoying there's a sense of magic to that game.
It is
that can withstand the fact that it's just not a looker, because it's not on a powerful hardware. So, and
I think just that level of freedom. I agree. The level of freedom that people are able to get, where there's just like an immediacy to the battles. The story is very different. The way like you're used to getting your gym badges and whatever, it's like completely done with that. It's entirely about like you're part of the survey corps and you're going out and researching these Pokemon. So the more you catch, the more experience you get to know about the Pokemon. And I think that's tied to progression, and that if your Pokemon learns to master a move, you can use different versions of it that change the stats of the way you use them. So for instance, there's an agile and a strong style of using any, like Pikachu uses Thunder Shock. He can use it as agile style to make sure it's the first one out. Mm-hmm. Or he can use strong style to make it stronger, but that also uses different resources at different abilities. You can like throw your Pokemon at trees to harvest the berries, and the Pokemon will like come out of the Pokeball, attack of the tree, and collect the berries for you. And it's like all of this stuff that's like a menu in the normal games is in front of your face as it happens. And then in order to fight a Pokemon, you have to select the Pokemon you want, you throw it at that Pokemon, and then you're in the battle. And it's just really cool the way it plays out. And then once you're in, it's like turn-based still, which I thought it was more of like in real time, but that part, once it's out, it'll fight whatever Pokemon are around it in that turn-based system. So it's like there's so much going on with that they changed, and it's crazy that they just kind of sneaked it out right in the middle of everything else that they're trying to do.
Yeah, but hey, Pokemon's Pokemon, and it'll always sell no matter what. Yeah. And continuing that NPD, despite having the #1 selling game of the month, however, the Nintendo Switch was actually the 3rd best-selling console of the month of January, with both the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series consoles outselling it for the first time, with the PlayStation 5 in particular being the best-selling console of the month. This is notable on the heels of the news of Sony cutting its yearly forecast of the console's overall sales for the fiscal year, and showing there's still ample demand for the machine amidst the component shortages. That's always been kind of the interesting thing about how Sony was like selling so fast, everyone wanted it, and then the component shortages just caught up to them, and then constantly being like, yeah, we think we're gonna be selling way less than these. We just can't make enough of them. But even with that, they still managed to come out on top in January. And I wonder if Nintendo got hurt right now. Do you hear that?
No.
Okay.
Oh wait, just briefly, I heard like something hitting something.
Yeah, I think they're cleaning my ceiling because we had a lot of trash right now. But yeah, So interesting that PlayStation 5 won here, despite a week ago I was hearing, don't expect many PS5s the next 2 months. So here's the top 10 for January. So #1, Pokemon Legends Arceus. #2, Call of Duty Vanguard. #3, Monster Hunter Rise. #4, Madden NFL 22. #5, God of War 2018. #6, Spider-Man Miles Morales. #7, FIFA 22. #8, Mario Kart 8. #9, Rainbow Six Extraction. And #10, Battlefield 2042. What's notable from this list, Paul?
Well, there's a couple of things for me personally. First and foremost, Monster Hunter Rise just shooting up there like crazy. God of War 2018. What?
Because of the PC release.
Oh, I didn't realize it came to PC. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that explains it. Same reason for God of War then, because I was going to mention the PC release for that.
But here's what's interesting, though. Usually NPD doesn't count PC sales because of digital marketplaces and all that.
Uh-huh.
Do you know the phrase, the rising tide lifts all boats?
Yeah.
The hype of the PC releases, bringing hype back to the console releases.
Oh. So that's still console release?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's,
interesting. Well, yeah, the only other things, of course, Mario Kart 8 doing great as always, but Rainbow Six Extraction actually showing up,
Mm-hmm.
and Battlefield 2242 showing up.
Yeah, well, Battlefield was like the number 5 last month. It dropped to 10,
Yeah.
and obviously
Okay,
Battlefield 2042, it's a complete dumpster fire right now. That delayed its first season all the way till July. Its first season.
I didn't even realize that. I don't even think they told us what was going to be in the first season, honestly. So
everything's just such a disaster with that game that it's better for them to not say anything.
I agree.
And and Spider-Man Miles Morales still kicking 2 years later. It just doesn't leave the list. It again proves that's the game people buy when they get a PS5.
Yep.
Simple as that. Like, it's simple as that. They just whatchamacallit, just give me a second.
All right.
And resuming from that little inconvenience there. So like I was mentioning with Spider-Man Miles Morales, it's like obviously the $50 price tag helps. I don't know how many are actually buying the Ultimate Edition that brings it with remastered. That's like the $70 one.
Well, I know I had to go back to that so that I could get the remastered version. Mm-hmm. So I think that's also one reason for it.
Yeah, sure. And that helps because it's good that even if you just get the normal version, they give you that pathway there to get the remastered because they sell those remasters over Sony instead of Game Smart Delivery. But just shows the staying power of Spider-Man there. And this is funny. Mario Kart 8 was number 8 here, and this is without the DLC announcement. Remember, the DLC was just last week, and that was February. This is going to skyrocket, like Absolutely. A lot. So
somebody told me that the price tag for that DLC was only going to be for the first wave, and you had to pay it for each one. And I got really worried all of a sudden.
That doesn't sound right to me.
Because I was like, Nintendo would play something really dumb like that, but I wanted to bring it up to you as like thinking of what your thoughts were on that.
So remember, it was like they are also including this in the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack, like they did the Animal Crossing.
That's true.
So it's I can see them being very, very sneaky, and every single wave costing $25, which that would be crossing the line beyond ways that I would never fathom. But I bet you in this case, no, it's $25 for all 48 courses. I bet you that.
So hope so.
Yeah,
but anyway, we can keep going.
Oh yes, and Rainbow Six Extraction. I mean, it was on Game Pass and it's still charted here. Again, it goes to show you that even though some games release over there on Xbox, in free form, quote unquote, I mean, there's other consoles they still buy. So. Yeah, interesting top 10. I can't wait to see the top 10 this for February. Wonder which one's gonna be number 1.
Definitely not Dying Light.
And definitely not this other one. Number 3. In a surprise announcement stream today when we're recording, CD Projekt Red finally unveiled the next generation versions of the beleaguered Cyberpunk 2077, as well as unveiling the immediate launch of said versions. The versions are coming in with the much anticipated patch 1.5. which massively improves many of the game's systems and AI, but no word if said patch cleans the game's litany of bugs and glitches that turn the game into a living meme. As promised, if you own the game already on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, you immediately get the upgrade free of charge. If you don't own the game currently and are interested, CD Projekt Red is also launching a 5-hour trial on both consoles that gives full access to the game's open world, and the game's currently selling for $24.99 in the digital storefronts. If you miss the sale, it's going to be retailing for $50 going forward. Do you watch the footage that I
did? I was heavily handicapped because I was watching it on my phone, and where I didn't really see much improvements outside of what I told you with like the character looks better, the textures look better.
Do you put the higher resolution when we're looking at YouTube? Because there's an option.
Oh, no, I was definitely not, because I was technically driving.
Oh, okay.
But so I was just kind of like I was listening to it, and when I knew it, I realized what quest it was, which was like really dark, so I just couldn't see much. And then like parts of it when they were walking outside, the rain's going down. I'm like, oh, okay, that looks kind of nice, but it looks like Cyberpunk to me.
Mm-hmm.
So like I am not going to be the authority on, is it really a good visual improvement? Because to me, it kind of looked the same.
Yeah, you had the advantage that you played the PS4 version with performance enhancement just by default of being on PS5, despite you still playing a GIMP version that barely had any traffic or people in it. And
yeah, I mean, I'd still think that I had a good amount of traffic and people.
I've seen the videos. There was more in the other ones. Just keep that in mind. And I did play the PS4 version, the base one. I was there. I've seen what trash looks like.
Now,
this is this
is going to be a huge improvement.
Yeah, this does finally look like a pleasing game to look at. Obviously, because these versions don't have the NVIDIA chips in them that you can get with, like, for example, I have the NVIDIA GeForce RTX, the 2060. Those NVIDIA cards, like, they partner right with Cyberpunk on PC because they gave you the most top-of-the-line ray tracing possible that transforms the look of that game. That game is a looker on PC. These next-gen versions don't quite look like that, but it's a far cry from how bad they looked before. And also because I think you can agree with that even as you were playing it on PS5, it was just not that great looking of a game, right?
Yeah, I mean, just like you said, they kind of added that weird blurry filter to offset some of those things, but I was able to also turn off certain of those.
The chromatic aberration.
Like the chromatic aberration. I think they had motion blur that I was able to turn off, but there was like several other options, and then it looked much better after that.
Yeah, it was way too post-processed. All the filters they had added by default. That even doing that in the base PS4 version, that would help, but obviously the frame rate there was atrocious. Not mention the Xbox One version. You should see videos how slow that thing runs. And I'm just glad that it's finally out. The timing couldn't be more impeccable, CDPR. Why would you release it now? Why? Yeah.
There must have been some kind of over-the-top suggestion that was like, oh, this is kind of done now. Let's go ahead and drop that. And then they're like, why are you going to do that? But I mean, this is CDPR's marketing division, which clearly has been known to be very tone deaf.
Yes.
Where they just kind of throw things out there without even telling the actual team. So this is par for the course.
And that's the thing. They are full on. They're in the road to redemption now. The studio's reputation is still down in the toilet. This was a version that was supposed to come out last year, and they still delayed it.
Yeah,
and which again puts into shine the fact that they released this thing in December 2020. It's like it's something that's gonna haunt them for the rest of their lives. If this version took this long, it also shows you they were not ready for prime time when they did, and it's unfortunate because part of me still wants to play this. There's something about its aesthetic that appeals to me because there's no other RPG that looks like this. They have that going for it. I just hope that then stealth releasing it today, basically. I hope I don't see reports that it's broken, because if it still is, I'm sorry. It's like this is your second chance, and you're releasing it now in the eve of a highly anticipated game right now on Friday whose PS4 version solid. There's like videos showing the PS4 version running.
Runs amazing.
Yeah, and the PS4 version of Horizon Forbidden West. Apparently, if you're still stuck on the base PS4, you don't have to feel too bad about it. Like, that was properly made. The PS4 version of Cyberpunk is like one of the most disastrous things that has ever been launched. That doesn't look good. So yeah, and I've seen a lot of pictures. God damn it, there's so much noise in my house now. There's so many pictures of people still with their gift wrapped versions, these versions of Cyberpunk.
Really?
They've been like, I can finally play this now.
Oh,
so, and
I wouldn't be able to just sit on that that long.
But I think it's like, this is one of the few times that the knowledge of how bad Cyberpunk was on like the base consoles, it broke the mainstream. I mean, it got removed from the PS Store, remember? Yeah. It's like, this is like something that not even Anthem, Fallout 76, and I don't even remember what the other Assassin's Creed Unity.
Yeah,
I've sent the meme. Is that meme of the three people like pointing, like laughing? We didn't get removed. It's,
oh man.
oh man, and that's still probably just remembering just how excited you were in 2020 for that one, and how in denial you were until it literally you were in a state of denial until the game got removed from the PS Store. That's when it finally hit you. Oh yeah, this is actually really
I will
bad.
still say I enjoyed myself thoroughly, but
because you were in the machine that could run it
exactly.
decently.
So like, I'm not going to say that I was like everyone else is invalid and what mine is the truth.
You were the monkey meme, the one that's there with the eyes, the monkey meme to the side, like looking.
Oh
yeah.
Yeah, basically. It's just seeing all that discourse and all that Reddit post and all of the stuff going on. I avoided most of that, but
yeah, but that removal was what popped the ball. That's when you realized, oh yeah, this is real serious, because
at first I was like, are people just being weirdly negative because I'm just not seeing it outside of like the crashes? Everything was performing right, but then I was like, oh, okay, so it's not just like a few people. It's a very big problem.
But to be fair, this only happened because CDPR was like very direct by saying, hey, if you want a refund, go ask Sony for digital copies. They never had a digital refund program in place. The only way you get a refund on the PS Store is if you haven't started the game. If you buy something, even if you preload it, you completely miss out on on getting a refund from the PS Store once you press start. Like once you load in the first time, that's when you lost your privilege for a refund. So they had to like alter the refund. Obviously, we can go into the argument that the PS Store's refund policy sucks.
Oh, it
because
does. Absolutely.
Like Steam has the best one. You can play up to 2 hours.
Right, and then it's like if it's under the 2 hours, no questions, refund.
Yeah, and if a game's really broken, it's usually you can really find it early on. And Cyberpunk was one of the first ones. I remember when I started playing it, and it was running at 5 frames a second in a bar. I was like, oh no. Like back then I had a tolerance for low frame rates, not anymore. Like especially now that we know what a pristine 60 frames is. Ooh, yeah, but it's finally out. If you've been holding off from playing Cyberpunk, if you're not interested in playing Horizon this Friday, and you have that disc there or that digital version just sitting there for this, now's your time. Me, this is probably an April thing. So, number 4, Paul. We may finally have some details for the rumored yet unconfirmed Resident Evil 4 remake from Capcom. According to Fanbyte's own Imran Khan, his sources tell him that Capcom was hoping to entice original Resident Evil 4 director Shinji Mikami to come back to work on this project, and Mikami was down to do it, but was afraid leaving his new studios Tango Gameworks would fall apart without his supervision. So the remake, now developed mainly by the team in charge of 2019's Resident Evil 2 remake, with additional development provided by the team in charge of 2020's Resident Evil 3 remake, has evolved from a strict scene-by-scene remake into something aiming for a spookier tone, more reminiscent to the earlier versions of Resident Evil 4, as seen in the demos earlier in the 2000s. Capcom is also aiming to fold in and fleshing out the Ada Wong side content from the later versions of Resident Evil 4 into the main story, as the content was the thing linking Resident Evil 4 into the larger RE mythos compared to the more standalone Las Plagas conflict. Un forastero! Khan also mentions Capcom is hoping to announce the remake early in 2022, considering their rather huge silence for their upcoming product lineup. We also have to remember the company suffered a massive data breach in late 2020, mentioning future projects where this rumored remake was part of that list, alongside a bunch of other Resident Evil offshoots, Dragon's Dogma 2, Street Fighter 6, Monster Hunter 6, and others. Considering this week Capcom has a countdown on their own website, whether it's a countdown for the reveal of this remake, DLC content for last year's Resident Evil Village, or an announcement for another Capcom series, remains to be seen. There's a lot here. Where do you want to start?
Goodness. Well, the first thing is I was watching one of my usual YouTubers talking about the countdown because he's a big Capcom person, and he was agreeing that the vibe and look of the countdown timer seemed like it was more Resident Evil, because it was not just like a basic timer. It just kind of looked, it's kind
It
of
has
like
the
a
font.
realistic.
It has a font
that,
to it,
yeah,
right?
that specific font that kind of looks a little suspicious. So that's what he was thinking. Either it was the Resident Evil 4 remaster or remake, which I didn't even realize wasn't actually confirmed. I just kind of assumed that at some point they said, yeah, we're working on it. Because all of these things now, it's like people talk with so much confidence when they find out certain leaks and whatever it is, that I'm just like, oh, okay, now let's move on. And I forget that the game was never announced in the first place.
Oh, yes. But that's why you also always have to like vet your sources and see where some of these stories come. Imran Khan is one that a couple reports that he has done have panned out. He is the one that leaked Stranger of Paradise when it was only known as Final Fantasy Origin.
That's when everyone got really excited because they thought it was going to be something like in the style of Final Fantasy 1.
Yeah, but not really. That's the people that forgot that he mentioned it was a Dark Souls. He mentioned it. So as soon as that
I think
trailer
people just
started,
thought the visual
style was going to be like that, not what we got. That has become a forever meme. That's my profile picture on Discord. So,
oh my gosh.
But so I trust his reporting, and he had reported Xenoblade Chronicles 3 like a year ago. So, and that was confirmed recently in the Nintendo Direct. So, he knows his stuff. To me like it's interesting that Capcom wanted Shinji Mikami to come back to work on this. Obviously, Resident Evil 4 is his masterpiece. That was the last thing he did for Capcom, and then pieced out for a couple years until he funded Tango Gameworks. In fact, he funded Tango Gameworks because he was dismayed, reportedly, by how Resident Evil 5 and 6 went, that he was like, you know what, I'll do it myself, and did Evil Within. So, and that he was down, but he was scared that what would happen to Tango Gameworks if he left to work on this, like just to do this, that whole studio would fall apart if he wasn't like supervising. So
I mean, it's a valid concern, and I sympathize with that.
Yeah, considering that Ghostwire Tokyo was like notorious. He's not directing that one. That was being directed by this Nakamura chick that was like so wholesome in that Bethesda press conference that everyone loved, and then she left because she was the director, and apparently it was going to be more of a scary game than what it is now. That's more of an action game with creepy elements.
Oh, so it actually did like take a 180. It just wasn't weird marketing.
Exactly. So I understand his worry, because he delegated to do that work, because he fully worked on Evil Within 1 and produced the second one. The second one was directed by someone else. Now, what makes me more excited is that this is the team that did RE2 remake, because it wasn't the same team that did 2 and 3. They were being made concurrently in this as the same project. And then they released 2 first, and that's how we got it a year back to back. Because it's strange to get something in that quality that quickly, because these things were being done in tandem. And funny enough, you can buy them together as their Raccoon City pack or something like that. That makes more sense considering the length of that. Deep speaker tone.
I'm curious about that, because I will say the fourth game started off really spooky at times for me. Like that weird, it was like an intangible threatening aura around that whole game as things started to fall apart.
You nailed it. It's not that it's spooky, it's tense. You're terrified by the mob. You're terrified by what could happen by you getting
that
mobbed.
Realization of I cannot shoot my way out of this. I need to play it smart, and breaking into the houses,
finding the shotgun,
the shotgun, the dude with the chainsaw that can just one shot you. That was terrifying. And then like it's later on that it kind of loses that. By the point where I think the dudes' heads would start like growing into tentacles and stuff, that I'm like, this just takes too many bullets to bother with. Like I'm not even freaking out about it. It's the Evil Within problem once again.
same
but at the
director.
same time, yeah, exactly. So if they want to keep that first opening hours longer, I'm all for it. I'm curious to see how visually Leon is going to change, because I mean, you've seen how he looks in 2. I love the visual improvements, and I'm a little biased because I'm doing the whole characters design thing right now. And but I love to see the changes, especially for Ada Wong. She needs a lot of changes to be done.
I think I'm not too scared about the character model because they can use the one from RE2.
That's true.
So that's not what I'm curious is how much do they do away with the camp. The Resident Evil 4 is a campy mess, and that's why people love it. Because there's just a
literal zombie shark.
Yeah, there's a zombie shark. There's the zombie sharks is on RE1. There's like this zombie whale that you have to fight in the lake with like with the boat and the sticks. And I think you froze. I hope you didn't freeze.
Oh, there you are.
There you are. I was like,
I lost you for a good minute.
Yeah, because the internet connection is unstable, of course. Today, everything is bad. I don't know if you heard about the zombie whale.
That's what it was.
Yeah, it was because zombie shark is an RE1.
You swam from something, and I couldn't remember what.
Yeah, you're in a boat with like some with some like the metal sticks, and the zombie whale grabs you, and then you're kind of dodging things and shooting the thing. Okay. But I mean, Ramon Salazar, the tiny dude dressed as Napoleon. Yeah, like that game is just ridiculous. And I knew it was ridiculous. And what's funny is that I learned through a different report that game's story was only a first draft that was written 2 weeks before the game went on full production. That makes it hilarious.
A lot of sense.
Yes, and apparently some of the changes they want to do the initial village section all at night. That would make it terrifying if you were like getting mobbed at night. So and them saying that they want to target the spookier tone from the early demos. Like early Resident Evil 4 was going to be a more spiritual game. You were going to be fighting ghosts. In fact, one of the early concepts was what turned out into House Beneviento in Resident Evil Village. So from way back then, they had the idea of the dollhouse. I wonder when they decided on the fetus baby. But yeah, it's like, it's so funny that now they're trying to do that to that game. That's gonna change RE4 like significantly because that game is just very campy. But I'm curious because then by doing it that way, it's like a legit remake. It's gonna be different, and I just can't wait to hear because when they mentioned it, Capcom hasn't announced anything. The only thing that we know that was coming from them is Pragmata. Pragmata was that weird space game they announced at the PS5 reveal.
Yeah, which I think they said they weren't going to be anywhere close to showing that one off anyway.
I mean, that was in 2020 and they slapped the 2023 year on it. It's obviously 2023. This is next year, but we're still in the year of the pandemic where everything shifts. So, and then we have all those leaks from that happened in late November 2020 that we're not doing the show, so we didn't talk about that. But I remember when that happened, I was like, oh, did this just spoil Capcom's slate for the next 5 years? So
I don't know if I even remember that.
It was, when it happened, you were in your honeymoon. That's why.
That would do it.
Yeah,
definitely don't remember that.
Yes, I remember it was on November 9th. You were already out by then.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I would be down for a Resident Evil Village DLC. I don't know what that DLC would be, but...
Yeah, I don't know either. Either continuing with Chris's stuff. I mean, well, you said you finished it, right?
Yeah, I finished it.
Okay, so spoilers, everybody, for the ending of Village. But
I doubt they're gonna do the daughter thing now.
Yeah, they would either have to do something that happened at the same time, or it's like, once again, hey, here's what Chris was up to while Ethan was goofing off, or something else with Mia and she gets to fight and then eventually end up in prison. Just other stuff like that. That's all I can really think of, because if they wanted to continue the storyline, I think that would serve better for a full sequel.
Exactly. So we'll see. By next time we record, we'll know what the countdown led to. So, number 5, upcoming horror game Martha is Dead is going to have some content edited out / censored in both the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 versions, while remaining as is on both Xbox and PC. The announcement was made in a lengthy post by the developer via Twitter, where they mentioned the game was always intended for mature adult audiences and expressed their disappointment at Sony not allowing their full unflinching vision on their platform. While initially no details were given about what was being removed from the PS platform, a recently surfaced clip of the game's trailer showing a minigame where you remove someone's face in graphic detail is being pointed out as one of the culprits that'll be censored. We still don't know. Everyone's just assuming. The censorship announcement split the gaming community in half, with some praising Sony for taking a stand against truly heinous content, while others massively criticizing Sony's continued shift towards censoring content when they didn't before, like the lens flare covering a woman's butt in DMC5's PS versions compared to the Xbox and PC versions, plus them censoring a lot of the anime games they used to get. That's something I'm throwing out there. With some people calling out the company's hypocrisy of taking a stand now while publishing ultra-violent video games without censorship, like God of War 3 and The Last of Us Part 2. Obviously, our favorite, Rick Hogue, the lawyer, made a whole video about that called Selling Hypocrisy. You should watch that. You were in the first camp here, Paul.
I was. It's case by case for me. Sometimes I'm like, all right, just let people have their thing, or at least keep an option for it to turn it on or off. Thank you, Call of Duty, for kind of popularizing that. And then there's stuff like this, where the thing that is not censored or is censored is theoretically or allegedly ripping somebody's face off with active involvement. That's where I think I'm like, do we need this in certain games, guys? Do we really? Like, it's one of those, yeah, we can, but should we kind of moments for me. And it kind of plays into how everyone demonizes GTA for stuff. Which I will say, you didn't have to torture a guy and force you to torture a guy when he's willing. It's like they're lampshading it by saying the guy is willing to give up the information and you're just forcing it on him, and you're actively doing it. But then also stuff like this, stuff like The Last of Us Part 2, where they're like, oh, look how horrible of a decision you are, but then they're forcing you to do it anyway. And
Last of Us Part 2, not unflinching, I show you how like a face is getting deformed with you hitting them with a bat that you create. And smashing. So
there's a lot of back and forth with that. Like, I'll say there's a gray area with it where, yeah, maybe they should have earlier, but then also it's like, well, isn't this just growth on their part for finally deciding, hey, maybe enough's enough and we should step back? Or is it just, this isn't our own first party studio or second party studio, whatever, so we're gonna treat it more harshly than if it was our own?
I feel this is more this is a result of Sony, like at least main Sony, becoming more of a California studio than it used to be, when its headquarters were more, the main ship was being how can I say this, was being commanded over in Japan, where they're a little bit more open with the things that are put out. The state of California, let's just call it, there's a lot of insensitive babies over there. So I can kind of understand them shifting over to America and their headquarters being in San Francisco, of all places. I can kind of see why they would be like, no, we have to like censor this stuff, because obviously that's something that's become a little bit more controversial about whether the things that people just want things to be taken out, things like that. It really is interesting though that this is the same company that put out God of War 3 and The Last of Us Part 2. God of War 3 has a little mini game that you have to engage in to rip someone's head off. And of course there's these sex mini games that you don't really see. You only see that two naked chicks looking at you banging at Aphrodite. So and making like weird comments like, this is definitely for mature audiences, like that coming from the god is funny. And then Last of Us Part 2 is like, bar none, the most violent video game ever made. There is like no especially with the amount of detail that game has. So it is a little rich that they had no problem or even giving content warnings for these, and they're doing this.
Yeah,
I can see the argument for people calling out that hypocrisy. To me, what's funny is that it's so funny that Sony is willing to take this kind of PR hit and just give a win to Xbox. It's like, we're not saying anything. Just put out your game. You already said that the game's already am for mature. Isn't that enough? You know that game is like already for adult audiences, but
I think it's a big difference, and I think that's one reason why it's almost like there's not enough differentiation in the E, the T, and the M. Because within the M, you have Halo, and then you have this.
To be fair, Halo's T now. They switched it to T starting Halo 5.
This is like classic Halo we're talking here. And I mean, even most other things. All of a sudden, everything that I've ever played suddenly went out of my head. But Assassin's Creed, let's say that one, where like it's pretty tame. Like some of them have a couple things here and there, but it's not really a whole lot going on.
The M rating for Assassin's Creed is different than the M rating for Gears of War.
True, which I will say there was a lot of stuff going on with that as well, and
that's a chainsaw in your machine gun.
Yeah, but I think there's just also a different level of immediacy, as well as what is the violence being done to, and if you are a human, does that also mean like it's something happening to you from an inhuman creature, which is like able to be rated a little different in most people's heads, whereas opposed to, hey, it's a person just tearing the face off another person, or somebody beating somebody's head open with a baseball bat. It's like, okay, guys, this is going to be a little desensitizing and a little bit over the top with some of this. So I don't know. I think it just depends on what it is.
Yeah.
But I think also, like, y'all just don't need to be doing some of this stuff. Like,
yes, I would agree.
Is their vision really messed up by removing a mini game of this or whatever else they have going on? Like, why is that really going to mess up your vision?
Yes. And I remember it's like the removing face, that's just speculation. That's what's being removed.
I'm just using that more as
it's a good example. But I think what's funny is like I'm just gonna laugh now that by Sony doing this, whenever they put out a violent video game, a very violent video game, now they've opened themselves to the whole, but you're allowed to put something super violent, huh?
Yeah.
Just by doing that, so that's why something's better to not do that at all, because you're then open by taking some kind of moral stand. You're gonna always be put to task when you don't follow through and different.
But is it always the same people that decided, or could just be it's somebody different in that team that decided it?
And that's the thing, is like by this happening now, they just left themselves open for anyone to call them out now from here on out in the future. If a Sony published game goes through and is like very violent, because it's not Vince Wars. I keep saying is like Last of Us Part 2 is so violent. I never like playing it if I know my parents are, because not that I'm afraid, it's just too much. Sometimes violence can be a little too much. So yeah, don't feel bad for Sony for the pushback they're gonna get, because this is the road they're taking, because there was this. So a couple of final quick buys before we leave, Paul. So quick buy number one, Activision has now formally announced the next batch of Call of Duty games via Twitter. So before we had the Jason Schreier report, he reported the next three. Now Activision just confirmed it on Twitter. They confirmed this year's official paid entry is the sequel to 2019's Modern Warfare by Infinity Ward, which we've heard is going to be focused on the Colombian cartel or something like that, like the drug cartel. Oh. And they're also confirmed that developers also hard at work on the sequel to Warzone, meant to take advantage of a new engine designed for next gen after the growing instability of the current Warzone client. I have heard horror stories at how unwieldy the Warzone client has gotten because all the recent Call of Duty games are housed there.
Yeah.
And it's just bloated the whole thing up.
It's somehow trying to balance the mechanics of all of them, including the guns from each game, which are very differently built. And you can't keep that kind of stuff. And it's like if they took Smash Bros. And then just kept adding stuff, but like the way they performed in Brawl into the new game and stuff. It's like you just can't. You gotta wipe the slate clean at some point.
Oh yeah, I will forever remain embittered by what Warzone did to Modern Warfare 2019 from file size. There is no way to install that game without Warzone being in it, and that just makes the game a 200 gigabyte mess. And I've heard horror stories, because I haven't reinstalled it, but recent updates have broken the campaign because of how bloated everything is.
Oh
you can't
yeah,
really install,
I mean,
so.
I had the problems just from the cutscenes. You remember that, where they would start stuttering and having problems on the modern hardware. But I haven't even tried to touch Warzone, but I know a lot of people like swear by it usually, and they finally started giving up on it because of how
my brother's made a career of just playing Warzone. He gets paid by winning tournaments.
That's really impressive too. But
yeah,
like, I mean, that's the other problem, is when your livelihood holds on to the mechanics put in by somebody else, then all of a sudden that can just go like that, no matter how good you are at it, which always is a little upsetting to me.
If it can make the new Warzone something that's a small file size, I'm down to see what they do. And at least now we know that they've just put it out there. It's like, the new Call of Duty is happening. So usually we wait until May for that to happen. Final quick bite. Is Sifu too hard for you? We talked this a little bit at the beginning. Don't fret. Developer Slowclap announced a slew of post-launch accessibility options, including better captions, the PC version's contrast mode, and more importantly, adding an easier difficulty option. Elitists get a harder option, similar to what Nintendo recently did with Metroid Dread. Slowclap also announced the game has already sold 500,000 copies within the first few days of release. Technically, Sifu's only been out for a week. Almost 500,000 for an indie game.
Yeah.
That's not too bad.
That's really good for them.
So kind of like what I mentioned at the beginning of what we've been playing, this announcement completely killed any desire for me to keep playing Sifu, because I think there's something to be said of not knowing that there's an easy mode coming, because then if you really want to get good at something, you're just gonna get good at something.
Yeah. At
least this gives me the kind of peace of mind that eventually I'm just gonna go back to it, because I still enjoy a lot of that game. It's mechanically sound 90% of the time. I wish they could edit some of the ways that you can do the L1 and stick thing to dodge, because that's one that
would be nice, actually.
That doesn't it's just something to really hard to master, other than just wailing to hoping that you're just gonna dodge. And I don't think that's what's meant. That's how it's meant to be used. So, but yeah, I'm glad they responded quick. When did Metroid Dread come out? On October. It took November, December, almost 4 months for them to be like, we're adding a rookie mode. This is being very quick. It didn't take a week, more than a week, for them to announce, we're gonna add that, because there's nothing wrong with adding an easy mode. It never is.
You could argue that they have less of the both good faith and patience of the industry, or the consumers, because I mean, they're not Nintendo, so they can't just suck it up.
Exactly.
They don't have like the don't worry, don't go away, please keep buying it.
They don't have the fan bases that are just gonna go to bat to them and defend every decision they make. So good for them. It's like I feel that's a game worthy of being experienced by more people, because we talked about it last week. There's rarely any martial arts game in this caliber. So, and with that, Paul, we've ended this week's show right before you had to go leave and do your thing. So, Paul, where can people find you?
As always, y'all can find me at Dork of Art on Twitter, and I just got confirmation that the game that I'm supposed to be getting is actually going to be pushed back a little bit, because the main developer is moving, and that's slowing down the crunch time for him.
Really?
It's going to
no
be
longer
April
coming out in March.
9th.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Just by a few weeks. Okay.
Just a little bit, but yeah. So I'm still working on that. I did the final artwork for the main character, and it got incorporated into the game, and I got to see it on the opening sequence of "What is your name?"
You showed me that clip. I was like, "That's so cool!" It's finally happening.
So happy! It was so cool looking. But anyway, working on all that. So yeah, you can find all my art for that on Dork of Art, and I'll just keep it at that for right now. Where are you at?
I'm at twitch.tv/theslayergiant, on Twitter @A_Segovia, and Instagram Alejandro_Segovia93. My written content is at thecriticalcorner.com. Paul, always a pleasure getting to do this with you, and have fun, quote unquote, with your travels. And I'll see
try.
you. Yeah. And I'll see you next week.
Yes,
for
indeed.
another episode of the X button. So everyone, press X
To play.
See
Good night,
you
everybody.
guys later.